Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today we have Stacey Prussman. She is an alternative party candidate who's running for office. So she's going to describe what she does and why she's running for office and all that good stuff. So welcome, Stacey.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited about the race and November 2nd and campaigning. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you for the time of your press, because we don't get enough press as being a third party here in the United States or in New York City.
We're glad to do that. So thank you as well. So kindly give us a brief background to yourself, a biographical sketch.
Sure. Well, I born and raised native New Yorker, born in Brooklyn, New York. I started my political activism in high school. I was a liaison between the League of Women Voters and kids in my high school registering to vote for the very, very first time, even though I was too young. I was only 17, but the 18-year-olds got to vote or registered to vote. And that was a lot of fun. I also held office. I was public relations officer of my high school. I then went into the arts, which I always had been in the arts. I was an actor as a kid, continued that, and then started doing stand-up comedy and motivational speaking. Then I served as a liaison with Headcount later on, a couple of years back. Maybe in the 2012-13, I helped with that election to register people to vote. And I've been involved in the political process for a long time. I've been an activist for mental health and the environment for many years, and I do speaking in colleges, universities, and treatment centers. And I just really am a person that loves people and wants to see the best for them. And that's why I'm running for mayor. And I believe that being a native New Yorker and being in the city the way I have been in all different angles, from being a performer in the arts to being a person in business to working side jobs, I understand the life of a New Yorker. And I'm ready to lead the city into a great future.
Excellent. So kindly tell our audience what party you represent, and also kindly tell us how you got involved in that party.
Sure. I'm running under the Libertarian Party. I believe strongly in the individual's right to choose and live their life as they see fit, as long as they don't hurt other people. That is how I live my life, and I hope that I can spread that message to the rest of the world, and at least New York City for right now. I got very involved in the party through a man named Larry Sharpe, who had run for governor of New York in 2018, I believe. I had met him in passing. We were doing similar radio shows, and we had met a few times, and we connected. And I told him about my wanting to run for mayor. And I was an independent voter, but I would go from different parties and all that. So I really was having, I couldn't find a home for myself, because I'm kind of a problem solver, people before party. And I met a lot of great libertarians, and I got involved in that party. And that's how it happened, through Larry Sharpe, basically. And that's how it happened.
So that's what led you to the Libertarian Party.
Yes. I liked a lot of their values. Obviously, the values of the Libertarian Party is wonderful. And so I just made some friends and just I was never a party person. I always believed the solutions came from great policy and people working together, not so much party politics. So that's, and I think libertarians believe that as well. So that's what I really like about them.
You touched on this earlier in the introduction. So kindly tell our audience what made you decide to run for mayor in particular, as opposed to maybe other offices you could run for.
Well, many years ago, not many years ago, but maybe 6 years ago, I had been doing radio station on a libertarian a comedy radio show on a libertarian radio station. And I don't know, something in my head once said, I really want to run for mayor. I want to represent New York City as a whole. And I was, I could have ran for city council. I could have ran for Brooklyn borough president, or there are a lot of offices I could have hit upon. And something about being the mayor and watching over the city really excited me. And I chose to run for mayor. It was just something I made a choice to do. I know it's a big office. It's probably going to be one of the biggest offices in our country at this moment. New York is one of the obviously most populated cities, most exciting cities in our country. And it's one of the biggest offices probably in the political spectrum at the moment.
Sure. So earlier you mentioned you're an advocate for mental health. How does the Libertarian Party, in particular, your perception of the matter, how does the Libertarian view deal with mental health issues? That's not an issue I see that's addressed necessarily by a lot of libertarians. It's not the first issue you think of. So kindly explain that to our audience.
Well, I mean, I'm coming from my own view. I don't speak, there's so many different types of people in the party with different points of view. So I'm not speaking for anybody specifically for a libertarian view. We do address it quite often. It's something that we pay attention to. A lot of people on my team specifically, we talk about, and basically I'm running as myself with libertarian values. So I'm not going to speak for the party as I am going to speak for myself. And one of my core values per se is that I believe that the core of what creates crime, what creates a bad city or a dysfunctional city is that mental health obviously is a huge issue. Mental health is the core of crime. It's the core of addiction, domestic violence. Happy people don't normally commit crimes. Happy, healthy people don't commit crimes. Truly healthy mentally, people with lack of, with mental health, and they make better choices. And so when you get down to the core of what causes homelessness, a lot of times, or that, obviously it's not a one size fits all approach, but individually speaking, a lot of times when things are dysfunctional, when people are committing crimes, when people are addicted, it's because there are mental health issues. And that's how I view it. And it's been addressed. I've spoken in so many different types of venues on mental health issues and addiction and the whole gamut. And from my own deduction, it's the main core of a lot of our society's problems, other than mismanagement of human beings by the government. But other than that, I think when it comes to personal responsibility side of it, mental health issues are probably they're the cause of physical issues. Stress causes physical issues in your health. Stress causes addiction. I mean, I can go through a depression, causes dysfunction in the home and society. So, I mean, it all, addiction causes crime a lot of times. Poverty, it all goes hand in hand. So mental health and physical health. I mean, our whole society was locked down because of a disease. So, we got to look at ourselves as, healthy beings in order to make my city a healthy and happy city.
So what other campaign issues are you focusing on in this race?
Well, my core issues are animal rights of all types, not just creating a no-kill shelter for New York animals, but also wildlife care, ending wet markets, which cause a lot of disease, any kind of animal cruelty, horse carriages. There's a lot of, issues facing our animals in New York City. So I wanted to be the most animal-friendly city in the country. Also, education. I wanted to democratize education so people could choose how their their children learn and who teaches them, and how they have the choice what school they want to go to that makes them excited to learn and feel happy to be at school and thrive. Because without a healthy education, either it be an education that deals with a specific trade or an art or learning, literature, whatever you might be interested, or history, I think that you're not going to be excited to learn. You're not going to want to go to school. And I think that's what's missing. When I went to high school, I was very lucky to have a very diverse education that was stimulating. And I was able to learn things I didn't even know I wanted to learn. I had the options to choose my classes. And it was a great education. It was a public school education. It was an experimental school in Brooklyn called John Dewey High School. And it was a very good experiment. People to this day, particularly my graduating class, are they love their education, and I hope that I can give a similar education to students to have that kind of choice to learn and grow.
So you would be an advocate for homeschooling and other programs like that?
Well, yes, if that's a choice. If that's a choice between the student and the parent, and it's, I think that kids learn differently. Some kids learn better at home. Some learn better in a social environment. I mean, it's all about choice.
Sure. So New York, from what I've heard and gathered, is like many other cities in the United States, especially now facing homelessness. How would you address that as mayor?
Well, homelessness has never really been solved, as at least in New York City. I know in other places as well. It's a very serious issue. Housing instability has been a big problem in New York, and that's that's different. That could be homelessness. That could also be people that don't have places to really live. They're technically homeless, but they can live on people's couches and so forth. So they're not on the streets, but they're living out of suitcases and bags, and that's until they can find a stable housing. So we have a huge problem with housing stability. We always have. And it's never been fully addressed between, is there enough houses? Is it enough affordable houses? Are people that are homeless mentally ill? Are they not mentally? Everyone who's homeless is differently homeless for a different reason. I can go through all the 20 million different reasons, from mental health, like back to that, to just being down on your luck and losing your job, getting kicked out of a roommate situation or a domestic situation, choosing, not being happy in where you're living and having to find something else because maybe there's like vermin or something, or the landlord's not treating the apartment correctly, or personal reasons. So everyone's homeless for a different reason. And basically we need to see what we have available for housing, changing zoning laws so we can, with these empty office buildings, perhaps build, single room occupancies or homes for families, depending on what the building situation is. There's a lot of options, we've never fully addressed them. I think shelters, they don't work. Obviously, a lot of homeless people don't want to go to shelters. They don't feel safe in them. So that was never addressed. Our shelter systems aren't shelters. They're places of crime for a lot of people. So we need to address how we take care of our homeless. And the idea in the long run is to get permanent housing for people. And what that looks like, it look like a lot of different things, by building 3D homes or shipping container homes for families, to having more single room occupancy situations, where people like co-op to work in their buildings to keep it up if they're able to. So it depends on the person, their abilities, and what their situation is, but there's always a way to solve the problem. It just needs to be looked at and really addressed in a serious and direct manner, which it hasn't been.
So given that there's a number of other candidates in your race right now, what distinguishes you from the pack?
Well, we have our main two candidates are basically, one's a police officer and one wanted to be a police officer. I'm not a police officer. We have some other candidates. We have a very nice candidate, Raja Flores. He's a surgeon, and he's very different than me. He's very into the NYCHA, which housing and making sure that people are taken care of, and he's a great candidate. and we have Bill Pepitone, who's also a police officer. So I think that I'm not too familiar with the other two candidates as well. I only had a debate. I don't really know their policies as much. Quanda Francis and Skaborky, I think his last name was. So there's 6, and I think that those are the other, and the other one is Kathy Rojas, I believe. She's the Socialist Party. So I'm not a socialist. I'm kind of, I would say I'm a centrist. I believe that we need intense reform on our criminal justice system. And I'm not saying I don't think that we should have police. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we don't need police officers creating more laws. We need to stop crime before it happens through mental health, through education, through creating programs that are exciting our students and exciting our younger people before they become criminals, addressing mental health issues again. At the home level, making having the community involved. I think that a lot of the other candidates, specifically the main candidates, they lead with sort of like a fear-based campaign, like this is the worst time and the crime is high, and statistics, some crime is high, some are low. I mean, it's all mixed together. I think we need to take care of our people first in a different way. We can't make them fear-based to vote for someone. I think that's a very unhealthy way to go. It's not going to make the city a better city. It's not going to make it a healthier city. It's going to create a police state, perhaps, which would not work well in New York. It's going to just be a big blowback. I think we need to let people be and be the best they could be, because they are a city of great diversity that should be celebrated, and people have great talents that need to be expressed. And I think that's what needs to be encouraged. And I think that will create a better city with less crime and less chaos. And that's what I think makes me different. I'm leading in a different way than a lot of the other candidates. I'm talking specifically the major party candidates.
Sure. So for people out there who are inspired by your candidacy and they want to run for office, maybe they're in New York, maybe they're elsewhere, can you tell the process they would go through to get a nomination?
Sure. Well, each party is different. So you would particularly have to get signatures. Well, for me, to get a nomination for the Libertarian Party is that we have our own convention. You'd be a registered Libertarian, and then you would talk about what office you want to go to. You'd go to a lot of the meetings, get involved with the party, and then figure out where you best are suited to run. And then from there, you would have to deal with the Board of Elections, which is a pain in the butt, getting signatures, filling out campaign finance board statements. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of, outreach. I'm not even talking about campaigning, just getting on the ballot is very hard. So particularly as an independent, you have to get, 4 or 5, depending on what office, like I had to get thousands, 5,000, 6,000 signatures, maybe more. Other offices, if you're doing more local, less signatures, just people in your district. So there's a lot of outreach. There's a lot of doing a lot of paperwork. It depends what party I guess if you're a Democrat or Republican, you'd run differently. You'd have it different. You'd also have to get signatures. So for that party. So it all, and then you'd be in the primaries that the Board of Election holds, but the independents aren't involved with those primaries. We have our own conventions and nominations from the parties.
So the New York branch of the Libertarian Party holds a local convention. Is that how it works?
Yes, exactly. Well, we had national people. The national leaders were there at the time of my convention, but yeah, and we all do a speech, and people vote and it's at like a local convention with the fellow registered libertarians, and it's our own convention we have. And every party does. I think the Conservative Party does it differently. I don't know how the other parties do it, but we're the third largest party in the country. So the Working Families Party, I don't think has a candidate this year that's campaigning, or they have a placeholder. The Green Party is not running this year. That we have the Bill Pepitone's on the conservative line, and that's the other. And everyone else is like independent. the other candidates have their own parties. So
Sure.
it's a process. I mean, after you get your nomination, then you have to deal with the Board of Elections and making sure you have all your signatures correct and and the stacks are right. There's a lot of different bureaucracy you have to go through, but at the end, people could challenge you off the ballot. It's a very intense time, specifically after you've just gotten 6,000 signatures. So, and it's not easy getting signatures, particularly in New York during a pandemic. So that's something that, but it was a learning process because I didn't realize how much goes into just getting on the ballot. So everyone on the ballot, I give them, particularly in the mayoral run that's not in a major party, I give you kudos.
Exactly. So how did you get the signatures? Did you pay a paid canvasser or did you have volunteers to do it?
It was a mixture. We had a mixture of people we paid with myself and Larry Sharp and some of the party, New York party leaders running around in different areas of New York getting signatures. It was a lot of work. And we did have hired people. We had great volunteers. I have an amazing team of almost 40 people that work for me. So that's great. And we really worked hard. We just went around to different areas that are populated, talked to people. I met a lot of great New Yorkers that have a lot of the same concerns I do. And they signed my petition. And now we're in October getting ready for November's race on the ballot. On the F lines for Wake the F Up, which is just ironic. That was my logo. That's my slogan. Wake the F Up, New York. So vote for me on the F line. That's the line on the ballot that I'm on.
So how can our audience out there, if they live in New York or if they live elsewhere, how can they support your campaign?
Well, one of the most amazing ways they can support us is that they can donate to my campaign. It doesn't, no amount is too little, $10, $20. It helps us with my staff. It helps us get more materials out there, get advertising before the big race on November. We don't have a big, party behind us with millions of dollars like, Eric Adams does. And and Curtis Leo, we're like an independent party almost. And so we need donations, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but whatever you can do, if you support a free and fair New York, a place that you can come to and thrive without, the government's interference, without people, telling you how to run your life or how your students should learn, and, having a great education, which because we're in trouble in New York. If our Democratic Adams wins, we're not going to have our education system is going to be terrible. It's going to be de Blasio part 2. So, and that scares me as a New Yorker myself. And it scares me what the city is going to be like. I don't want to live in a police state here in New York. One of the other candidates made a good point. He said that Raja Flores, he said that we need checks and balances, and having police officer as mayor and a wannabe police officer as mayor, the other guy wins, is not the way we want our city to be. I mean, I'm not saying I don't support police officers and the men and women who risk their lives every day. That's not what I'm saying. Is that we need to have a New York that's ran by a police officer. It needs to be ran by a citizen who builds bridges with the police and the citizens that don't trust them. And that's what we need right now. We've seen so many, issues in these last few years, and that needs to stop.
So what is your website where people can donate to?
Sure. It's PrussmanForMayor.com, or we have the other URL for people that don't want to spell my name out. It's P4M.NYC. That's P4M.NYC. There's a donate button. You could also pick, there's random numbers we put up there as well, but whatever you can give. No amount is too little. It helps our campaign. It helps us really thrive and beat other candidates out so we can win. I mean, it's politics is sadly a money game, and I'm learning that. And it's we're in a duopoly that really stinks here in New York and in the country, and we need to end it. We're not going to move forward as a country with this duopoly. We need people that have everyone's interests at heart, that lead with fair and lead with problem solving moving forward. We need those kinds of leaders now. We've outgrown the two-party system. It's only hurt us. We need new voices at this point, and I believe I'm one of those new voices that we need.
Yes. We wish you luck for your campaign. We hope you get lots and lots of votes.
Well, thank you. That really makes me happy. I'm excited. November 2nd, I'm going to vote where I grew up, which is going to be really exciting, with my mother, my 86-year-old mother. And let's make, let's like create a wonderful, free, fair, and fun New York. One thing I wanted to say before I get off this wonderful podcast is that New York really needs to be, besides all the politics and all that, we need to have fun again in New York. New York's a place of fun. And I think that's something we forget about. We just came out of this pandemic, a lot of death, a lot of loss of jobs, of life. And it's been a lot of sadness. And we need to have fun again. And if I can bring that into the city in a really nice, healthy way, I want to do that. Coming from a comedy background, even though I'm not being so funny in this interview, I believe that people need to laugh. They need to have fun. They need to connect with each other again. And that's the most important at this point in New York City. And all the other things, I believe if that comes about, all the other things will fall into place. Jobs and, abundance and people having homes. I think all that will start to come into place. But everyone needs to have fun again.
That sounds like a plan.
Thank you. So F for fun and wake the F up. PrussmanForMayor.com. Go donate. Volunteers are also important. If you're in New York City, help us the last few weeks get on the ground with us. We're going to be campaigning all around the city every day. So come join us.
All right. We can also direct them to your website if they want to volunteer.
Yes, absolutely. And follow me on social media. You can also, I'm very active. My Twitter is active. So that's how you found me. So it's always a good way to, if you really want to get volunteer, you can also hit me up there, which I don't always encourage, but I check it so often that it's probably the easiest way. And my team checks it quite often. So sometimes if it's not me, it's one person from my team.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. We appreciate you sharing our views, and we wish you all the best in your campaign and your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Have a great day. Be well, be safe, and have a good time doing so.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.